Glad that you are here with us. This is the August 8th, 2025 Scott County Fiscal Court business meeting. We have a full agenda, so we'll try to get to that business right now. I would like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hamilton, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hostetler.
You forgot who I was? Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Corman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Pratt.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Mr. Culbertson.
Here.
Judge Covington.
Here. So with that said, let the record reflect that we have a quorum and can conduct business. First item of business to consider are the minutes from our previous meeting as shared. Would there be any questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Livingston.
Second.
Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving there next to number 5, transfers as presented by our treasurer, Michelle Ray. Any questions or comments related to those transfers?
Is the Parks and Rec transfer, is that like the one-time annual transfer that we?
Well,
We pay quarterly now. Is
I
that
can explain that.
all right?
There were several lines in the budget that used to make sense that don't anymore. So Michelle and I talked and added lines. So Great Crossing Park will be paid out of where Parks and Rec used to be paid with a O.
Yeah, we had to add a couple of accounts, like with extension, so
The
that we
money
could
didn't
differentiate.
change.
Instead of grouping all Parks and Rec expenses into one account, we wanted to kind of break it out so we could track it better. So we have a Great Crossing Park line item, and then we have Parks and Rec, so that we
But
can.
in a different place.
And then the budget transfer took that money from that overall account and divvied it up to the appropriate line.
So this actually allows for us to be able to
Yes.
track
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Kelly?
That does, thank you.
Clear as mud.
Motion.
Motion.
Rick gets it.
Second from Kelly. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion?
Motion for approval.
Motion from Mr. Wallace. Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, let the record reflect that the Sheriff Jeremy Nettles submitted fees in the amount of $51,471.74. And at our next meeting, we will share that the county clerk submitted fees and what they were prior to August 10th. So let the record reflect that. Number 8, let the record reflect that the annual salary schedule has been shared with the fiscal court and magistrates. Number 9, EMS recognition. Chris.
Morning, Judge, magistrates. I appreciate the opportunity to recognize a few folks on our staff, and if I could get Matt, Kylie, and Leland to join me. So on August I'm getting straight in a minute. July 31st, early in the morning of that day, we had a call where we administered our first unit of blood to a patient in the field and transported that patient to the hospital. The physicians there assured our crew that without that unit of blood being given in the field, that patient would not have survived. So we have Kylie Scalablos. Sorry, butchered that.
Hey, can you clean that up for him?
Sclavis.
All right.
Leland Robinson, Matt Lacey were on that call and provided those interventions that actually made a difference. And I asked Matt to join us because without Matt, we wouldn't have gotten this blood program off the ground. He's instrumental in everything from the ground up on that and working with other agencies and KBC to get that blood on the trucks and out in the field to the people that need it. So again, I wanted to recognize them, but also to let you guys know that your investments in us are truly making a difference in the lives of Scott County. And so
Let's give them a hand for being trained and being committed and their dedication. We appreciate it very, very much. But I'll go back to what Chris said as well. You know, I'm very grateful for the leadership of the fiscal court to put these measures in place and give our folks the tools that they need to protect our community. And very grateful for that. Any comments from fiscal court? And then I think we do need to take a picture, but any comments, questions?
yeah, I would just like to mention too that Mr. Lacy here is a product of our own. He went through our EMT class. He got hired full-time and then went through our paramedic class. So he's one we've grown from the ground up.
Just another success
Yeah.
story. So let's do a real quick picture. I think it merits a.
3 out of 5, so you know.
This is like blocking all of them.
Lexi, you're going to capture this, the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
She's going to capture it, the whole story.
1, 2, 3. That lazy smile.
Thank you all.
Doesn't have to fight for
Hey, hey, the tailgate trailer goes out tomorrow.
Hey, did you see the thing that they're
Now,
whole area of the blue?
you know, the whole blood story, very exciting and very glad that the outcome of that was what could be reported today. So that leads us to Chase Azevedo, and we're going to get the whole story, not just the half story. We're going to get the cup is half full, not half empty story, I think. So
We're going to have to talk about the order of your agenda. I
Yeah.
don't like having to follow that up.
yeah.
So.
But Chase, really appreciate you coming and sharing information about GMWSS and, you know, our long-standing partnership that started really years ago when Judge Lesby in the fiscal court made, you know, the decision to help get water lines out that provided drinking water to those that did not have it. And that was the need at that time. Now, of course, over time, we have grown and we have had growth and such, and that has impacted the status. But I think you're going to hear from Chase some great information and just that will give us a picture of the whole story of what's really going on. So thanks for being here and thanks for your leadership.
Thank you for the introduction and appreciate the court offering this opportunity. I think this has been a great idea this year. We're going to do this quarterly. When you all get some questions, Judge is going to reach out and say, come talk to us. So I appreciate your time on the agenda. I'll try to do my best to be respectful of your time in that full agenda that the Judge talked about. But what I think as what's led in is appropriate topic of conversation today is drinking water, specifically in northern Scott County. We've had a number of customers and potential customers that have contacted us about kind of the current status of that infrastructure in that system. So I wanted to, as Judge said, I wanted you to hear it from me where we are, because there's a lot of information out there, the news, social media, and I want to tell you where we are exactly, better or worse, exactly what's happening. So start with some history, and Judge already teed that up well, but just how municipal water service came to be in northern Scott County. And then I'd like to give you kind of an overview. I've given you some maps about where we have infrastructure and how we process water, how we wheel it through the system, and how it reaches the far roadways customers in the county. And then we want to focus on the issues and what our plan is to accommodate requests for new service ongoing in what we're going to talk about as the Burton Tank Pressure Zone. And then just our approach to making sure that we can address further connections and allow that provide further service both in the near term and in the long term. So we do have a plan, and let's just jump right in. When we look back at the history of our water infrastructure extending beyond the city limits, we really look, as I've come to understand it, it predates me at the utility, but late 90s, early 2000s is when I think we can look at just a really great period of collaboration between a city government, a city-owned utility, and a fiscal court. Those three organizations at that time able to do some pretty incredible things. And as I've come to learn, as Judge Covington just said, Judge Lusby, the fiscal court, they had a vision, and I think it was great vision, to provide municipal drinking water service to every road in Scott County. That's what I've been told through the conversations that I've heard. That was the goal, and that was well executed. And so I think that the goal, it involved wanting to give an alternative to tanks, cisterns, and wells. Not easy to do, not easy to maintain. So they just wanted an alternative, and we got that done. The court secured funding for improvements that included transmission distribution lines and an elevated storage tank, what became the Burton elevated storage tank. That's a 500,000 gallon tank that serves this northern Scott County area. And then water lines on county roads, and they range in diameter from 2-inch, not a large line, largest 12-inch, the transmission lines. Most of the lines in this area, diameters 3 inches to 6 inches. And so while these infrastructure, I wasn't here, they predate me, I can tell you with certainty in looking at that I think that those lines were put in for the existing customers at that time, and then some planned growth. There's no way that 2, 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch lines is going to provide for ultimate build out and unlimited demand throughout the county. That's just not going to happen. So I do think that's something that we all need to recognize. There's also that balance, because we get questions when folks come in. So why didn't you put in bigger lines? Why didn't you plan better? Well, when you're talking about drinking water infrastructure, it's a balance. You can undersize lines. You can also oversize them. If we'd put in, instead of 2-inch lines, if we'd put 6, 8-inch, 12-inch across all of northern Scott County, we wouldn't have had the demand probably till 2015 to turn that water over. That water would have gone bad in the tank, bad in the pipe, and we'd been dumping it on the ground. So I think the infrastructure was well sized, it was well planned, well installed, and we've just seen customer growth in this area over the last 25 years. Well, we've grown into that system. So you skip to this slide. This just shows, and I've given you all the handouts there. I don't think the order of the handouts is the same as my PowerPoint, but you can find them. I think it's just 3 or 4 in there. But the light blue area shows our water service area in Scott County. We serve, I guess the easiest way to look at it is we serve everything in Scott County west of I-75, and then Kentucky American serves everything east. There are some pockets where they're on the west side, and there's some places where we're on the east side, but that's generally the line of demarcation. And it's interesting, a lot of people don't know where their water comes from. They don't know who provides it. We get calls that are in the Kentucky American service areas. I'm sure that they get calls about our water service as well. But that's generally where we serve. We go to the next slide, please. Purpose of this discussion, I think it's important to understand how we move water through our network, and I'll try my best. I said these maps, they don't always fit good on a TV screen because we need to turn them sideways, but hopefully you can follow along with this map. Our process starts, as you know, down here on Water Street at our water treatment plant, where we source water from Royal Spring. And then as we treat that water, we kick on our high service pumps. We pump that east out to the Whitaker tank that's adjacent to I-75, presuming everybody knows where that tank is. Then from there, the water is pumped out in a northwest direction, and it's pulled and pushed with our new Long Lick booster pump station on the south side of the new high school. It's pumped up northwest into the Burton tank. The Burton tank then, it moves water around the northwest Scott County in a counterclockwise direction around the county, and ultimately we fill through that infrastructure the stamping ground tank. And that's kind of how the water goes through our system. Generally, there's obviously a lot of water lines that can go different directions, but that's generally how our water moves through the systems, through the tanks, to the customers. You can also see there's a pink line coming from Frankfurt there. That's where we purchase additional water, and we bring water in from Frankfurt Plant Board. We can, if our water plant goes down to the spring it can dry up. We can purchase all of our water from Frankfurt Plant Board and pull it in from the west and then wheel it through our system the exact same way. We can also backfeed that system from that line and other lines on 460, so we can fill stamping ground tank from that water if we can't get it wheeled all the way through the system. Any questions there?
But we're not doing that on a daily basis. We're not using Frankfurt, or do
We
you
buy
supplement it
we
all?
buy water from Frankfurt every day. Minimum purchase is 500,000 gallons, but that's not our primary. We treat 3 to 4 million gallons a day at our plant, and we supplement with about 500,000 gallons from Frankfurt Plant Board.
And a lot of that's just the pricing and
Yep.
and that minimum volume.
Yeah.
We had a lower minimum volume. We renegotiated our agreement with Frankfurt Plant Board earlier last year, and we increased that minimum to get a much better purchase rate. So, and that's an ongoing agreement. I think that agreement goes through 2034. We will definitely need that water. We'll definitely use that water. Our plant maxes out, just for your reference, about 4 million gallons a day. If we go to our next slide, please. So we zoom in here. This is the same slide from previous, but just zoomed in on what we call our Burton tank pressure zone, and it's that area highlighted in yellow there. And this is where kind of, I think you've gotten calls, we get calls, really where we need to focus today. Late last year, early this year, we started to see pressure issues in the Burton tank pressure zone. We've added customers over the last 25 years, and that increased demand, it's showing up now. As more customers come on, there's more demand, it impacts the system. And so we've got more customers pulling water, and we've seen that result in what it's done to our system pressure. We've had property owners, existing customers, they've come in and request additional service, and there's some areas in this part of the county that we can't do any more connections right now. Let me explain that in that we have to maintain a minimum system pressure at 20 psi. That's regulatory standard. That is what keeps the water clean and fresh. If you drop below that, that's when you get into water quality issues. And right now, depending on where you are in this yellow area, we've got current customers that are right at 20 psi. And if we add more, we risk going below 20 psi, which we can't do. So we aren't trying to turn anybody away that's come to us and asked for a new connection, whether it be just for a residence or a cluster development or any other kind of project. We're in the business of selling water. We want as many customers as we can. We just can't do it at the detriment of our existing customers. That wouldn't be fair if we can't do it. So we received those inquiries. I think you all have probably received calls as well. I know the mayor has, I know the judge has, our board has, and we track every one of those customers or potential customers that comes in. We keep that list, same as we've done on the wastewater plant while we've been trying to get that in service. And these inquiries, it's important to understand they vary, okay? We've got some inquiries from customers that have something that's under construction. We've got some projects that are happening now, and we need to be working with them to find a solution now. A number of these other inquiries and requests are folks that have heard about this issue, whether it's from WLEX or from social media, and so they've come in and said, well, wait a minute, I might, when I retire one day, want to sell my property or subdivide, do something but I don't know what that is yet. I don't know when that is. There's not a lot I can do with that kind of request. It's not that we don't want to help and guarantee something that may be 10 years out, but realistically, I've got to deal with what is the projects that are here today, and that's where we're focusing. And I just want you to know that there's a lot of calls, there's a lot of discussion, but not all of those are today projects. There's a good number of them, if not a majority of them, are folks that I believe through talking with these potential customers or current customers saying, we've heard about this, we just want to make sure that at some point in the future that you've got a plan, and we do.
So those stars represent those inquiries?
Yes, sir. I'm just going to get to that. Those pink cyan stars, that's where we're tracking. We put each one of those addresses on that map, and that's where we have people that have said, we've got this piece of property, and we'd like to do something either today or at some point in the future. So we have a list. We're tracking them. We've got details, and we're trying our best to maintain contact with those folks.
So Chase, looking at this area and this northwest area, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't see very many subdivisions. You're going to have mostly probably 5-acre tracts or larger, so single-family homes. And to increase the line size, it is going to be paid for within your existing budget with rates that you charge customers. However, it's different. A lot of times when you have subdivisions come in these different areas, you have the developer do increases to the line size for a high density area of houses. But in this situation, you have them all kind of spread out. So when was the last time the city council increased the tap-on fees for water lines?
2023.
Okay. So is that going to help offset the increase of the new lines that will be placed in this, or is it going to be based solely on customer rates?
I'm going to get to that if you'll let me. If you just let me get to it.
But you understand my question where I'm trying to go?
That's where the presentation's going.
Okay.
But to answer the cost of our tap-on, our connection fees, that covers the physical cost of whether it's the meter or the sewer tap. It's not
designed to increase line size.
It's not designed to go into a sinking fund that can be for a future project.
Okay.
It's covering that physical cost of the labor and the materials.
I understand.
Let's go to the next slide, please. So kind of what's the plan? I think that's what everybody wants to know. That's what's important. And we're addressing this. I've already put out some material on this. I don't know if you've seen that, but kind of a three-pronged approach. What is happening in the near term right now? What's happening in the next, say, 2 to 10 years, what I'm calling intermediate term, and then what's happening beyond, because we've got a plan for all three terms. First, in the near term right now, over the last few months, we've been testing and changing and analyzing just our standard operating procedure, how we use the tank and the booster station in this area to see if we can optimize our system with just our current infrastructure in a way that we can increase system pressure and allow for more connections. These are no-cost solutions that we can do right now and implement very soon. I think in the next month or so, we're doing just testing, make sure everything works out. But we've been looking at, as I said, how we fill and drain both the Burton tank and the stamping ground tank, and how essentially how many hertz we run through the Long Lick booster station, how hard we pump the water through that, how much energy we put into the system. And so already what we've seen from that is that where we were at 20 PSI, we're already seeing consistent readings at 40 PSI at most of these places where we place pressure gauges throughout this part of the system. Some we're even seeing up to 50 PSI. All good news. I think that everything that we're doing on the operational side is really, once we implement some new standard operating procedures for our water plant and our distribution crews on how to operate this system, I'm confident that we'll be able to take care of every star on that map, all the current issues and then some. We're trying to distill that down as far as our increased pressure into how many more connections that we can add right now that our board can then, they can have that list, they can have that connection bank, if you will, similar to what we've done on the wastewater plant, and they'll be able to manage those connections, those requests. So I think that's all good news, and I'm confident that we're going to, in the next few months, be able to deal with anything that's on that list. I think we'll be able to stop the phone calls just with operational changes. We've operated the system one way for many, many years. Some of the operators have been here 25, 30 years, and that's the way we've done it. Well, it's time to see if we can do it differently, to just find an operational solution right now. So then in what I said kind of as the intermediate term, that might be in the next couple of years, depending on how much this additional pressure and capacity, how long that lasts. That's driven by projects. I don't have that crystal ball to know how many people are going to come in and ask for connections, but say that lasts another year, 2 years. We want to know what to do in the next 2 to 10 years that we keep up with the requests. That's fair. We want to do that. So we have already issued a task order to our hydraulic modeling engineer. They are evaluating, doing a specific analysis on the Burton tank pressure zone, and the deliverable that they're going to give to me is a list of smaller, more manageable projects. They're not going to come back and say you need to do this one multi-million-dollar effort that is not going to be feasible from a financial standpoint. They're going to break things up into smaller projects that we can tackle, kind of eat the elephant one bite at a time type of thing. They're going to give us scoping for each one of those improvements, what it's going to do, and then give us a projected cost. And then if I know the numbers, then I can go and I can chase down funding for that won't have a rate impact. Senator Nunn already reached out to us, said where could he help, so he knows how we're working on this intermediate term, and he's interested to help us with that. So that's kind of where we are on that intermediate term. We've got a plan for the next, say, 2 to 10 years. Then beyond that is kind of long-term. That goes back to what you've heard me talk about before, is our long-term water supply assessment. That's ongoing, where we're going to pick, as I said, there's a finite amount of water at our water treatment plant through Royal Spring. We've got a plan for the long term of what we're going to do to get water beyond what we can treat, and that's ongoing. It's been ongoing for a long time. Judge is not looking at me right now because he doesn't like that. He wants us to have a plan now. I'm working on that plan. We will have it. That's kind of long-term. When we get set a direction there and start to work towards that goal, that's going to give us a master plan for where we get water and how we wheel it through the system. Overall, that's going to improve water service across our entire service area that you saw in that first blue shaded area. That's in conjunction with our Southside Tank project that we've talked about. Court helped us secure funding for that, and that's ongoing as well. Once we set that direction, we can really move that project forward.
And that was about a $5 million.
$5 million grant
that was navigated
through the state legislature.
And the one question I have is, this is a budget year, and budgets are done biennial. Is there any thought that one of these intermediate solutions could be presented to Senator Nunn and our leadership?
Yes, absolutely.
Prior, so we could maybe get our ducks in a row to make a request, like a strategic effort to make a request for this budget
Absolutely.
cycle.
And we're doing that. The last time I did that, not knowing the budget process all that well, we submitted a request at the very last minute. Thankfully, the judge and Senator Thayer were able to work some magic. We're trying to not do that to Senator Nunn. So
we need more time, definitely, because Senator Thayer in his position, he could navigate getting items in front of those appropriations. Senator Nunn and our Representative Grossell, Representative Hampton, a little bit junior in leadership time, and we'll need to navigate that. But I'm confident that we can give ourselves a chance if we have a little time.
I think so.
Chase, what those intermediate type of things, what examples would that be?
That could be upsizing lines. Big one would be connecting dead-end lines. Dead-end lines where it just ends and it's not looped together to anything else. That's a real system killer. It could be another booster station. It could be another tank. Eventually, there's going to have to be another tank in this area.
Okay.
So it's a combination of those.
And I guess, and another question I kind of have, we're talking about, the west side. Are we having the same issues on I know it's Kentucky American, and it's not your lane, but are we having the same type of issues on that side?
Not really. This is our area of focus for water. The last 7 years, everything that I've talked about has been sanitary sewer. I think the next few years, you're only going to hear me talking about drinking water. But no, we're not seeing that. I think there's some pressure issues. Fox Run that's behind Emerson, just the elevation. You can look out and you're at the same eye level from some of those houses as the tank. There's not a lot we can do about that. The tanks are what they are and where some of the developments go in, but that's not been a problem that I've received a lot of calls about.
Okay. Thank you.
I think most of our issues on the south side of the county and city, we will definitely address with our south side tank project. Then we address some in the northwest. I think we're in good shape.
Chase, I'm sorry, Rick. Chase, currently Frankfurt Electric and Water are running lines down Leestown Road. I believe they're connecting into Midway. I got a call last week. Will the GMWSS be hooking on to those lines to increase water connectivity, and that's be the southwest of Scott County?
Currently, we are good for coming in through the Frankfurt Booster Pump Station on 460. I think that's a question that will be addressed in our long-term assessment.
Okay.
Hey, Rick,
Chase, we were talking about, well, a couple of things. The pressure issue and then line size, which is basically you got to have a volume of water, right? But the pressure issue right now is the main issue, trying to get that bumped up. And I know you're partnering with Frankfurt Plant Board. Is there, because of that, we were talking about the east side is Kentucky American, and part, I live on the west side of I-75, but I'm right there on the US 25 corridor, and that's what I have, Kentucky American, and they don't have a pressure problem because, your horse waters and stuff like that, you got to really control their pressure.
Got a 42-inch main.
Exactly. And so, and that, has there been any thoughts about partnering with them?
Well, two things.
I don't know how that would work.
We currently purchase water from Kentucky American as well, but because of their rate, we purchase from Frankfurt.
Right.
Their rate is almost double ours. We kind of, essentially, we break even when we purchase water from Frankfurt. We lose money when we're purchasing from American Water because of the rate disparity. But in emergency situations, we budget every year for purchasing from American Water, and we have interconnect. So in an emergency, we go out, put meters in, and we can tie to that system and benefit from the hydraulics of that 42-inch main. When we issue an RFP for where we're seeking a long-term water supply partner, Kentucky American, I am 100% sure will send us a proposal. Then we will evaluate that with anybody else that submits.
Well, I've had people ask me, and I've thought of it myself. Has there ever been any consideration of potentially selling Georgetown's assets, GMWSS assets on drinking water to somebody like Kentucky American, or even, I don't know if Frankfurt Plant Board would be interested in something.
I know that was discussed and came to a vote years and years ago, I believe, during Mayor Prather's first stint as mayor. I don't know that that's been discussed since.
Yeah, that's been a long time ago, yeah. Right. I was just wondering, I've had people ask that, and I've thought of it myself, and just kind of wondering.
I'd just say, you've got a city locally owned asset here. Once you sell it, it's gone forever.
I would say you would also look at a lot of rate changes for those folks.
Possibly,
might be worth it.
Kentucky American Services, Fayette County, the whole.
I'll send you some rate comparisons.
Right. It's just a thought. I mean,
Yeah, but I will say this, and this has been a long, like a multi-year project to get to the point. I think before the end of the calendar year, we will have data and information that will answer questions like what you're answering. And I am confident that the board and the city will look at the big picture of what meets the needs of not only the city, but our county customers as well. And I'm confident. I'll ask Chase to come back and present additional information once that data and information's through. But I really think there's been a lot of work to look at long-term water supply needs, not just 10 years, but we're talking 50, 60 years down the road. Projections for our growth. The Royal Spring will not service with what's projected. And that's why the work that Chase and the team has done, I think by the end of the year, we'll have facts and data that will be able to provide us with good information to make an informed decision. But I think your question's fair.
Sure, and look, it's just an option to consider, because the other thing that you said was, you mentioned several different sizes of lines that are out throughout the county. I mean, that's secondary in my view, or my understanding. The first thing is you got to beef the pressure up, right? And so you can push a volume of water. Then the line size gives you the volume, so that nobody loses out.
Yep.
When everybody's home from work and going about their evening cooking and cleaning and all that kind of thing, and that's when heavy water usage is, I would think.
Peak usage hours, pretty much
6 to 8 in the morning,
and then
6 to 8 at night.
Yeah. So that's all I was talking about. I mean, so the first thing is what you've already addressed is the water towers, trying to beef up the pressure, because your lines that are there will handle the pressure. So that would be the next thing once you got the pressure beefed up, right? I mean, what you've got in the ground will already handle the pressure. It's because Kentucky American's pressure is tough. It blows out of my ground all the time.
So Ryan Pratt wanted to make a comment.
Well, I just had a quick question. So to go back to what you said earlier, with your tracking these 13. So if I today was looking at buying a piece of property, just say on Gaines Road, or I own property on Gaines Road, and either scenario, my wife and I are like, hey, we're going to build a house, or we're buying a property, we want to build a house. Can I call today, and can you tell me if I can have water where my property is no matter what, or is that an unknown?
I would say come in and call us, come in and meet with us. Let's look at the project, what you want to do, if it's a single residence, if it's something more than that, and we need to just do some analysis, and we can get.
But y'all can give me that answer, right? It's not like an unknown, one way or another.
I think we can get there, yes.
Okay, perfect. That's all I know.
There's some that are waiting on that answer. There's a few that have been in and met with us multiple times. We had somebody in meeting, a realtor and a property owner in meeting with us yesterday. There's been a family that's been in to meet with the board, and I think we will be able to answer that question once we implement some new operational changes that will give us the pressure to support a decision on a connection.
Perfect.
And if you see continued, where you were at 20 PSI, if you consistently see those PSIs in the 40s up there where you're testing pressure, the chances are the opportunity is much better.
Correct. And again, I think we can translate an additional 20 to 40 or 50 PSI, we can translate that into how many more connections that we can handle.
Dwayne Ellison.
We haven't really talked about, like, with fire. I know that's been a discussion, and having the ability for our fire department to be able to have enough pressure there as well. Because is that the same type of deal as far as will the changes or the operational changes help that situation, or is that a bigger?
I think it's going to help that situation, but beyond the city limits, and this predates me.
Sure.
I don't know what was intended, but I can tell you by the line size,
I cannot guarantee fire flow protection through the county. I cannot do that just based on the line size. The volume's not there.
Will some of the longer term,
I think we will only improve.
okay, but not necessarily ever be, you know, we're still a long way out of being like we feel confident. Is that how
I
you feel
think
right now?
the South Side Tank Project is going to play a major role there in part of the network that's within the outside the city limits.
Okay.
I think we're going to be able to do that. Our hydraulic modeling efforts over the last year, we've done this with the the fire department. I don't think we've sat down because it was something that helped their ISO rating. With our model now, we can show the pressure at every hydrant, and then I guess the colors associated. That's about the extent of it. It's also, you've got to look at what the definition of fire flow protection is. From a regulatory standpoint, it gets unrealistic in that fire department connects to a hydrant to put out a fire. From a regulatory standpoint, they say there's got to be enough flow and pressure to put out the fire, but it also says that you can't impact any of your other customers. That's not realistic for any system. So if there's a fire and it needs to be put out, it's a life or death situation, connect to that hydrant, drain the whole system. We'll fill it back up later. It's just there's a difference between what is regulatory fire flow and what can we actually offer if they need to connect the truck and put a fire out.
Gotcha, okay.
And we can look at those, we can look at every hydrant in the system. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Question.
Rob Jones.
So stamping ground, you know, we had a problem years ago with the volume for our fire protection. Is that all good? We don't have to worry about that?
The stamping ground system is exactly the same as it was when we took ownership.
Over.
We'd made one change, and it seemed that it was before we had a hydraulic model. We didn't think it would make any difference. We got a lot of calls that it did, so we went back and put that line in, and to my knowledge, I've not had any calls since.
So we don't
Was
have
that
to
a
worry about
looping
that.
situation that you had mentioned previously that positively impacted that?
Possibly impacted. There
I
were a lot-
personally think it helped
Yeah.
out.
I mean, we talked about
Yeah.
that. We took out a line that had a lot of leaks. I think that it still made an impact where we thought it wouldn't, so we went back in and put the line back
So
in.
some of these red stars are in my district, and I've had a few calls, and with the work of the judge, you know, I called a judge, which called you, and we got that one worked out, and that helped out. I personally had 2 applications that had to come before you before we could even move on, getting building permits.
So we're before the board last week, I think.
Yeah, I think I got a
This
call
week.
I got a call this week on one, so I appreciate that. And, you know, I think if people would just call the office, I think they can work through most situations. Because that's all I had to do on one is just make a phone call, because we got turned down on a building permit, made a phone call, it was solved that day, so sometimes just making a phone call and chasing them or trying to work through these,
That's
get everybody taken care of.
Best message we could put out today is, if there's an issue, come see us.
Yeah.
I'll probably shouldn't say this, I'm going to say it. Social media is not where you're going to find the answer.
That's right.
It's just not.
Yeah.
That's hurting us now. I'm not saying that it's not a good avenue for certain things, but if you've got a technical question, you need to come see us.
Can I get an amen?
I just had one more question, Chase. You remember years ago, we had that connection on Wood Lake from Frankfurt. Is that still there, that would fill the tank in stamping ground? Would that help out any?
I don't know the specific one you're talking about, but we now, part of these operational changes, instead of filling stamping ground tank from the counterclockwise direction around the system, we are trying to fill and we are filling stamping ground tank from our infrastructure in the 416 corridor.
Yeah.
And that's a combination of what's coming from Frankfurt Plant Board and what's coming out of our water plant in a east to west direction towards stamping ground.
Okay.
Chase,
Chad Wallace.
We've got last question.
It's your last question.
That's right.
Last question.
The court is currently considering an ordinance that would allow these auxiliary units on 5-acre tracts, which we would maybe call a house or a garage with living quarters. And those would probably tie into the existing water system. If, I know this would take over time, but let's say this passes and we have all these small areas, auxiliary garages, granny flats, whatever you want to call them, that can be no larger than 35% of a current home. Is this going to put, like if we pass this and these things start being built, is our system going to be to the point where it's going to be stressed out that we're going to be back in these same types of situations like we're seeing in the Northwest Corridor?
Every additional connection is going to pull water. I really, not knowing a lot about what that looks like and what the usage on that will be, hard for me to say right now. But I mean, every connection is going to put a draw on the line.
And I think that's another example of, as we move forward with consideration of that auxiliary dwelling unit ordinance, it's important to have conversations with GMWSS, planning and zoning, and what does that look like? Does that building inspection, building permit require an additional meter, or if it's possible to connect the two where you're still under 1 meter? But the bottom line is if you're adding square footage, you're going to add usage. And it's just a hard, but I think the key is communication and planning and zoning, building inspection, and GMWSS being on one page as we move forward. You don't want somebody to go spend $55,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 with the thought of being able to put their mother-in-law there and then not being able to have a place for them to shower or wash the dishes.
Right.
So that's communication, I think, is the key.
I'll also say, if you're just talking about putting what we've called for my parents, at some point we're going to build the granny suite behind our house, and depending on the area, is that going to make a difference? Not really. But if say it's a house that's up on a hill that's eye level with a tank and you're adding something else, that's something we probably need to look at and run some analysis. I think that might be a thing that's got to be done on case by case. Hard to say overall what it'll do, and knowing how many of these we're going to see and how quickly, but.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Chase? I think you really laid it out really well. I don't know if you have any more slides.
I did have a few, but I want to be respectful of your time. It's up to you.
I don't want to cut you short, but we will move forward. All right. No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, okay.
What they're trying to say is,
I'm happy to go
next
back.
slide.
Next
Don't
slide.
have to leave, but you can't stay.
Well, I was just going to try to address what Magistrate Wallace was asking me earlier. I told you I'd get here because I wanted to talk about some of our current policies, and this is how I'm directed by the board to run our utility. And just so everybody's aware, existing policies, this is how we run the show. And whether it's, I'll say it again here in a minute, whether it's one house or whether it's 500 houses, everybody plays by the same rules. That might not be right in every instance, but it's the fairest way I know how to do it, that is as fair I can be to everybody across the board. So infrastructure that is installed for the benefit, to the benefit of a developer, that can be a property owner that's building one house, that can be I'm not picking on them, I'm just saying they're the big players for residential, the Ball Homes, the Anderson communities. If it's a 500-unit development, they're going to play by the same rules. They're going to play by this policy, and that our certification that'll go on a development plan or a subdivision plat, it states very clearly that construction of the proposed water distribution system, it also says sanitary sewer system, infrastructure, that is at the cost of the developer, and it's not reimbursed by Georgetown Municipal when that is dedicated over to us. That's how we've always done it. In the past 5 years, we've put it into written policy to even strengthen that. And the goal there is just that we don't want our existing customers, we can't allow them through their rates to support infrastructure that's benefiting new growth. I think that's fair. I think they're paying exactly what is their fair share. Not always perfect, but it's the best we can do. So yes, that's the same for right now as we stand. That's the same for person owning 5 acres out in the county who wants to build a house. If the infrastructure is not there, then they can feel free to install whatever upgrades needed. Do I think that that is the only way we can look at that? No, because I don't think that I can require somebody for a single-family residence to put in 2,000 feet of water line that's not on their property. That's difficult. That is what I make all homes and Anderson communities do. But there has to be a balance. That's why I'm talking to Senator Nunn, seeing if we can do some things that won't, through funding, grants that we can chase down, that won't impact our rates, but we can still make some of these improvements to benefit this situation that you're asking about. Next slide, please. This is just another part of our policy that when we're dealing with a new project is now we require sanitary sewer and drinking water analysis by our hydraulic modeling consultant. This helps us plan for all these improvements, and most of all, it helps us make sure when we do this new connection that it's not going to adversely impact somebody that's already on the system. That's not right. We can't let that happen. And last slide. This is just further language about how we see new projects come on. Again, it's part of, if it benefits your new project, you've got to pay for it. It's nothing new. This is how the board and previous boards have always considered these requests, but I've tried to talk about this mainly because I think part of 2 years ago what made the difficult discussion about our rate adjustments that we had to go through is people really thought with all the new connections, all the new projects, they thought that our existing customers felt like they were footing the bill. And I've tried to make these policies very public, very known that that's not the case. I want people to know that we're doing our best to treat every project, every existing customer. We're trying to make it as fair as possible.
Thank you, Chase. Any other questions, comments? Appreciate your leadership and the work you're doing for the community, and we'll wait to hear more as we move forward.
Thank you for your time. We'll be back sometime to talk about long-term water supply before the end of the year.
All right. Thank you. Next, EMS agreement, Kentucky Task Force 1, Urban Search and Rescue. And Chris sent an email that really cleared this up and shared, what's the benefit to our agency and our community, and the training aspect that we will have, and then the opportunities from that, I think, merit consideration. Chris, what comments would you like to make, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to have another discussion about this. As Judge mentioned, I think it's going to save us thousands of dollars. Just for an example, we sent one individual for some special operations training, and it cost us around $1,500. We have 20 folks that operate on that. So you're talking about $30,000 that we could save by having this training done in-house, no travel fees, and at no cost, because we're entering into this agreement. And if you look at what's expected of us is just to employ those folks, credential them, which they're already credentialed, equip them with equipment, which we've already purchased for our special operations team, so we're not purchasing any additional equipment. The policies and procedures it mentions are already in place, again, because of our special operations team. And then lastly, just ensure that a KYEM state incident number, and Mike and Gene are great about assisting us with that. They get those numbers for us. So really on our part, there's nothing additional that needs to be done. And I think the biggest part of this is what a huge recruitment tool it is. We interviewed over the past couple of days 14 individuals, and for the first time that I can remember, and Jeff can attest to this, we just didn't feel anybody was a real good fit, and we were able to say, thanks for your time, but we can be a lot more selective in our hiring process. So I think by affiliating with them and getting our brand out there, we're going to have more people apply that are experienced, qualified, just ready to come in, and I think it's a huge recruitment tool.
Anybody have any questions about the MOU as presented with, it's really KYEM, but it's Task Force 1?
Yes.
I have a comment.
Ryan Pratt.
So I know a lot of these people through our work. We have, our company has a FEMA contract. So I actually called and talked to one of my friends there. So this is a brand new thing. He told me this, that the plan is like if one of our people goes out, that they will reimburse us for their time and their coverage's time, which I think is awesome.
Right.
He did also say that they were creating these MOUs because they didn't really know what response they were going to have.
Right.
But he said as of Wednesday, so they put out applications for people to fill out online for this as
Right,
well.
yes.
They've had over 400 applicants as of Wednesday. So
Yeah,
he
it's
didn't.
very competitive.
Yeah, he didn't know even how much our people would be used because if they fill the team up with outside people, but they still
Right.
want to have some of these in place. But
Right. And then any, just to piggyback off that, any disaster deployments were getting reimbursed by FEMA.
Yeah.
For their hourly wage and any equipment we use, any mileage we travel, so I think personally it's a win-win for us.
yeah, he did say that their whole goal is to have all the equipment there that they need. They're still building that and getting that together. So
Well, once again, thank you for using your connections and giving us a little bit more information. It sounds like a positive opportunity. Any other questions? I don't think we need to read the whole MOU, but would there be a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A motion. Second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Stay right there. We'll move next. Regretfully, but very thankfully, one of our staff had an accident, hydroplaned on 75. That vehicle, that Tahoe that was being driven was indeed totaled out. I think we have had a settlement offer from CAECO in the amount of $45,000 and some change. And that money can go towards the purchase of a new vehicle, but you all need to approve the purchase of a new vehicle. Chris has made the request, instead of purchasing another Tahoe, they would like consideration of purchasing a truck off the state bid list from Bachman. That would enable them to pull the trailer, the training trailer and others.
Yeah, we just purchased a large trailer. It's 20 feet long, 3,000 pounds, and that's empty. So when we load it with all this special operations equipment, it's a beast.
And you would shift a Tahoe back to the battalion chief,
Yes,
and then
they would still operate out of a Tahoe. We would use this pickup truck as an admin vehicle until it was needed. And Uriah, Chief Tyndall, is here. He's over our special operations team, so anytime they get deployed, he's going to be there anyway with the pickup and ready to hook up and pull our stuff.
questions or comments about that. And
What's the vehicle that you all are looking for?
It's a Chevy 2500.
Okay.
I'll ask that.
What's the,
49.4 total sale price is what I saw. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, 49,406.
is
And
there
then-
any upfitting for that?
Well, as far as the upfit goes, we're going to be able to reuse most of the equipment out of the Tahoe because they're both Chevys. We're hoping the light package will work. That's the only question. So really, for upfitting, we're just talking about some lettering, some decals.
Motion from Rob Jones, second from Rick Hostetler. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Animal care and control new hire.
is there an EMS number?
That has been removed.
Yeah,
As
we were
they
optimistic,
mentioned.
but that didn't pan out. So, anyhow, well, good morning. Yes, on behalf of Sherry Bishop, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Nicole Folkrod as Animal Control Officer. She'll start on Monday, August the 11th at $19.97 an hour. We're very thankful that she has several years of experience in the field, and I was able to participate in the interview with Sherry Bishop earlier. So,
Questions or comments? Motion, second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Road Department new hire.
okay, on behalf of J.R. Brandenburg, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Marty Bailey for the seasonal temporary mowing position. He will also start on Monday, August the 11th, and his pay rate will be $18 an hour. He has several years of experience, and most recently was working for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Motion, second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next will bring us to Fire Department rank consolidation proposal. Before we go into that, though, I'd like to consider any public comment from anyone.
Judge, magistrates, good morning. My name is Zach Anderson. I'm a lieutenant with the Scott County Fire Department. I'm here to put a face to the issue to be voted on today by the Fiscal Court to remove the lieutenant position from Scott County Fire Department, giving all current lieutenants the title of captain. This is not simply a merging of the two leadership positions into one title, but effectively eliminates a large promotional opportunity and salary increase in our department. As a lifelong resident of Scott County, my only career goal was to become a Scott County firefighter, following in the footsteps of my dad, who was a part-time firefighter with the Scott County Fire Department for 18 years. As part of my career and desire to serve the residents of Scott County as the best firefighter I could be, I have obtained every training and certification made available to me. Beyond that, I've coordinated the smoke detector program for 5 years, operated as the head of the social media committee, and been a devoted member of the technical rescue and SOP committees since their creation. I've worked very hard towards the goal of becoming a captain on the department, knowing that it would mean a substantial salary increase for my family. I entered into that promotional process in 2024, and in September of 24, I was one of 4 candidates approved for the position by the Scott County Fiscal Court, a list which was to remain in effect for 2 years. With 2 position openings between then and now, the top candidates were placed in their respective positions following their rank on the list. This left myself and one other lieutenant on the list to presumably be promoted within the next 2 openings for captain. With the retirement of 1 battalion chief in July and a second scheduled retirement of battalion chief in October, I was eager for the promotion I earned as the next top-ranking candidate when the existing captains would be most likely to promote to the open battalion chief's positions. The motion at hand to remove the position of lieutenants and give all current lieutenants the title of captain. However, that comes without any salary increases. I did not come before you without very careful consideration. I've never filed a grievance within my career at the fire department until this issue. Knowing it was necessary for my own conscience, I followed the correct procedural steps and filed a grievance. Upon the recommendation of Judge Covington, I now appear before you to make you aware of the issues surrounding this decision before the issue is voted upon. Beyond the direct implication to the bottom line for my family, I have serious concerns about the lowering of requirements for the captain's position. Currently, a firefighter must have 3 years on the department as a firefighter before applying to one of the 12 lieutenant positions available. After 2 years as a lieutenant, the member can then apply for one of the 3 captain positions available department-wide. These positions are allocated as 4 lieutenants per shift, 1 at each station, and 1 captain per shift riding the rescue truck, who is responsible for making life-saving decisions as to which equipment is to be dispatched to every call. Additionally, the captain will ride up into the battalion chief's position when there is a vacancy that occurs. By increasing the number of captains per shift and lowering the standards of leadership requirements for the captain's position, there are many unanswered and seemingly undecided questions regarding which of the 5 captains will fill the roles and responsibilities of the current captain's position. I feel voting on this position merger without clear guidelines to ensure the most experienced, well-trained captain would be in that position is premature. And the next area of concern is the pay scale, which currently allows a member to promote to lieutenant with a pay increase followed by a promotion to captain with another pay increase. In combining the lieutenant and captain's positions at the current lieutenant's pay scale, this further limits the income potential of a Scott County firefighter. Given the fact that 17 firefighters, which represents more than 30% of the Scott County Fire Department's membership, has less than 13 months experience in the fire service, it does not seem to me that decreasing promotional opportunities and income potential is going to improve those statistics. By lowering the standard of the captain position to lieutenant, I will no longer be eligible for any compensation for the trainings I've completed and leadership experience I've gained as a lieutenant in the pursuit of the current captain's position. To put that into perspective, I've been a full-time member of Scott County Fire Department for 10 years, 3 of which has been as a lieutenant. The increase in pay that I was expected to receive as a captain was $4.42 per hour, which translates into more than $8,000 per year. And over the course of my career, if I were to retire at the minimum length of service, it would amount to more than $120,000. I'm here today to ask that if in fact the measure is passed, that as well as the other member on the captain's promotional list, we have our salaries adjusted to the current captain's pay rate prior to the merger of the 2 titles, given that we have both completed all requirements of the current captain's role before the standard is lowered. In addition, I'm asking that there be clarification of duties of the expanded number of captains. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much. I do want to clarify that you have a seat. Number one, did receive a grievance. There's a 30-day period for the executive authority to respond to that grievance. I responded to that grievance by phone call, and then I've met with Mr. Anderson as well. And then I also submitted within that 30-day period a written response. I respectfully dismissed his grievance based on the fact that the Scott County Fiscal Court had taken no action on the proposal that is pending. Thus, the grievance was not, in my mind, substantiated. So with that said, part of my official response to Mr. Anderson outlined the next steps if someone is not satisfied with the executive authority's response to the grievance. And one of those items is to come and speak with the fiscal court. And I shared those options, and that's what brought Mr. Anderson here today. I've met with Mr. Anderson this week as well, Jeff Mudrack as well in that meeting to discuss concerns. And I will preface before I turn it over to Chief Baker that, this conversation is nothing new. It's been brought up more than once, and prior to me becoming judge, I understand as well. But previously, as judge, this has been brought up as well. And the rank consolidation process is what we're talking about, and I want you all to know that there's been quite a bit of discussion about this. As we shared previously, Chief Ward, Chief Baker, and Jeff Mudrack met with current lieutenants and captains to discuss this potential change. And as we shared previously, the one thing that was brought up that was a concern was compensation. So before I turn it over to Chief Baker, does anyone have any questions for me or for Mr. Anderson?
Judge, I have a question probably for Cam.
Okay.
That is the list that was approved that Mr. Anderson alluded to in 2022. 24, I'm sorry. And that list of lieutenants that was approved by the court, I think I'm saying this correctly, is that still an active list? Is that still a valid list?
So we might need Jeff Mudrack to
on that one.
Yeah.
The list that is in position is a list that is a promotional list that exists for 2 years from the date that it was established. It is based on the current policy. And from conversations with Jeff, and I think I've talked to Cam about this as well, if the policy changes, then the list is non-existent or moot if the policy changes. I don't make that decision. The fiscal court makes those decisions.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we were, I just want to make sure we're on legal,
I think
solid
you're
legal.
within your right if the court wishes to change the policy. I mean, it's complicated, obviously.
Question.
I have a follow-up question, kind of what Chad's asking. So the current proposal, right, is to eliminate the captain's position and move them all down to lieutenants, right?
No.
No,
The other way.
I can do it.
It's the opposite. They want to remove all lieutenants.
No, Mr. Anderson, I think we'll let Chief Baker now, and then
Yes, sir.
All right, so Chief Warden's proposal is the elimination of the second level company officer position, which is essentially the captain as it is defined right now. There'll be no reduction in pay for the 3 current captains. They'll keep the pay that they make right now. Simply an organizational restructure. So what we want to do is retitle the first level company officer to captain, which was formerly lieutenant. And then for us, our suggestion to fiscal court would be to provide a 75-cent an hour raise for those company officers that meet a minimum standard, which we have said, basically.
And what you're talking about, that 75 cent would be for meeting the criteria to ride up and serve as backup for the battalion chief.
Yes, sir.
But every truck, every engine and apparatus has a company officer.
They do, yes.
You have a company officer at Newtown, a company officer at Sadieville, a company officer at Homestead, and you have 2 company officers at 2200 Cincinnati Pike at Station 1. So that's just, and then you have 3 shifts where you need a company officer on every shift. Right now, as we speak, we have company officers, but then you have that additional level of captain.
Correct. So, like I say, if you look at the numbers we have, the 3 current captains would retain the same pay that they're getting. We have 3 lieutenants that we deem would be grandfathered, if you will. So they would, if they wanted to be in a position to ride up, they would get that raise. 4 of the lieutenants would be eligible for that 75 cents within the next 12 months. They meet our standards. In 2027, we'd have 3 members that would make that, and in 2028, we'd have 2 members. So it's going to be a trickle effect. So it's not all of them wouldn't get it at one time. It would phase in as the years go, as they meet the minimum standards.
Questions?
So one of the concerns Mr. Anderson had is, I guess, the lack of training that some of the people may have, or the length of time they've been there. And I know it's hard when it's individual cases, but is there something in place that you guys have thought about to try to help those guys that need additional training to get them up to speed where they think that?
So before they would be eligible to ride up in that position as a captain, they would have to have 2 years as a company officer. So they would still have to be in a position of company officer for 2 years before they'd be eligible. They would have to have 48 hours of ride time with the current battalion chief. So 4 12-hour days, if you will, they would ride with their battalion chief and get that experience. Plus, they would have to participate in our officer development class, which is put on by the Scott County Fire Department. So they would have to meet those standards before we would allow them to ride up.
So would they have to be 5 years?
Rob Jones, and then I'll come back to you,
I'm
Chief
sorry,
Ward.
Chief.
Go ahead, Rob.
Would they have to have the 5 years to become the captain? Is it, or is it 3 now?
It would be 3.
Okay.
Yes. They would be a captain, they just would not be eligible to ride up in the battalion chief position until they had at least 5 years, and 2 years experience with the company officer.
John Ward, Chief Ward.
Yeah, Judge, Magistrates, thank you all. Just want to, reassure everyone, we have thought this thing through. Is it 100% perfect? I think it's very close. But I just want to assure you all, we're never going to put someone in a position to, whether it's riding up as a company officer or riding up as a shift commander, that's not qualified or not ready to be in that position. And I think we as a department have even come even further in developing our own officer development program, and we've now put on 1 class, and we're looking at potentially doing another one in the fall. But we're setting the standard high on anybody that assumes a responsibility such as riding company officer, riding shift commander, that they meet the qualifications prior to ever putting them in that position. I just want to make sure that was something that was clear, and that, the last thing we're going to do is put somebody in a position that's not qualified for that position and make a decision that could affect someone's life.
So the minimum experience level as a company officer, if you went to this proposed change, would be for 5 years. You'd have to have 5 years under your belt to be able to ride up
As a battalion chief.
if you meet all the other criteria.
Yes.
Right now,
It's 3.
it's only 3.
Technically, I'll be
Is that-
honest,
so-
if it depends if between vacations and sick time use, I've seen recently promoted lieutenants ride up. I've seen firefighters ride, as company officers. It's
So, and here's the reality. If you have a battalion chief that is out and then that captain on the same shift, then you have to look at your next level. And currently that's lieutenants to look to ride up. And that's reality. Sometimes that happens. It's not frequent, I don't think, but it happens. Questions or comments, other additional? Rick
Judge,
Hosteller.
I think I really understand Mr. Henderson's concern, because it, obviously, as he explained it, it affects him directly because it was part of the reason why he's progressed, and he set himself on that path, and I get that. And so that, it comes back to Chad's question, and I think I'm understanding the answer. Even that list, now correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff or Cam, that 4-person list, I remember us doing that. It was, I think, September of last year, I think, something like that. Even that, I think it was kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4 type of list that was put together, if my memory is correct. But did that list even, was that supposed to be a guarantee that we were going to go 1, 2, 3, 4?
I'll allow Chief Baker to answer and then Jeff to answer, but go ahead, Chief Baker.
The way that policy is written, nowhere in that policy does it guarantee that someone will be promoted just because they're on that list. It says quite the opposite. I mean, the chief, the administrative staff can get together, and if we feel someone's not where they need to be to take that position, we can technically pass them up and go to the next person on the list. And that's the way the policy is written. It doesn't guarantee anyone's spot because they're on that list.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What does the current starting captain make versus a lieutenant? Like, the 75% increase, is that to address that issue?
75 cents. Did you
75%.
say
75
I think the 75 cent per hour has been discussed as.
To answer your question, it depends on where that person falls in the organizational structure and where the people are in the rank above them as to what the exact pay difference would be. But the 75 cents an hour is meant to be, I think, a very generous adjustment for those people who choose to assume some additional responsibilities of being able to ride up to the BC position. And odds are, for the people that are going to be doing this, my guess is it might be 3 to 5 times. I mean, because it's going to be spread over more people, probably, when you do this. So we're looking at, it's about close to $4,000 a position to do this. And so if you divide that over the 3 to 5 times they ride up, it's probably somewhere in the $800 to $1,300 per time they ride up. So we feel like that's a very fair and generous adjustment for them.
And I have said in these conversations that if the pleasure of the court was to adopt this and adopt a 75-cent adjustment, I think you can't leave it at there. I think right now you can, but I think in the future you will need to consider, if you have a captain that has met the criteria to ride up and has been there for more than 5 years, do we put another level of a small adjustment just to reflect the year's experience that we're getting from that individual, and just to recognize, hey, that person's been riding for, has got a lot of experience, and we need to reflect that in their duties. So that's something I think, I'm not speaking on the behalf of the court, I'm just saying that in the future, if you have a captain that's met the criteria and been in that position for X years, then do we need to add an additional amount of money to reflect, hey, we've got a lot of experience in that individual, and that individual should be compensated for their experience and their willingness to ride up and do the work that needs to be done.
I thought about that a lot this morning, and the ride up part of it. And I was trying to be a little bit too technical, I think, earlier, like clock in, clock out, what type of, if you're there that day, you get paid a certain way that day. But, as I was going through, and Joe will remember, as teachers and assistant principals and directors and leaders as you go, a lot of times you do stuff because it's the right thing to do as far as your organization, and you want that experience so that you can get that experience and be that person next, so riding up is a great way to show that you can do the job eventually and get that captain job and get that battalion chief job or that chief job eventually. So I do see the benefit of I do think we should compensate, but I don't know that we need to go, I don't think we have to get hung up on that either, because, I don't know how many times I was an assistant principal as a teacher. They didn't pay me anymore, but it also showed that I could be an assistant principal. And then when I did the same thing, anytime they asked me to be a principal, jumped right at it, and, you know, so it helped me further my career by doing the job. You know, it's on the job interview right there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity given to these lieutenants by that, the more I've thought about that. I do worry about having 5 captains, you know, so I think you're gonna have to have at least a good training about who's in charge of what, when, and where, you know, on whatever scenarios. But I'm sure you all are gonna do that.
We do.
And I asked that question, like I said, like if you've got these company officers and you've got 3 companies responding to a structure fire, like who's in charge? What's the answer?
The first arriving company officer is in command of the scene until the battalion chief shows up to take over. That's what we do.
Chief, would you
Rick
say
Costello.
would you say that again?
The first arriving company officer, which if we do this would be the level of captain, would be in charge of the scene until the battalion chief shows up to take over, or myself or battalion chief, whoever might show up to take over the scene.
I didn't understand.
John Ward?
I would add to that, so maybe this would help, you know, Rick, is, so every truck, sign a company officer, basically the supervisor of that truck. Depending on how many trucks there, they're basically the supervisor of the 2 firefighters that are with them. Let's just say we show up on a structure fire, we have every truck there, all our firefighters, all our company officers, our shift commander will be there. When that truck, first truck arrives, the company officer of that truck assumes command. He's in charge and he'll start giving, you know, size up sitting on the scene. But when the shift commander, the battalion chief arrives, the battalion chief will assume command of that fire. The battalion chief will be assigning different companies, whether it be a company to search, a company to attack the fire, a company to go to the roof to vent the roof. He will start navigating and assigning, making assignments to the companies. This is where the company officer becomes a vital role, because as that shift commander is making these assignments, then that company officer, the supervisor, will direct his 2 guys that's with him on whatever it is the shift commander or the battalion chief, incident commander, is wanting them to do. So it's very vital that, you know, we'll have the battalion chief there that is over the overall scene, and then you have each company that's operating there has a supervisor with them that is receiving the orders and directing his crew that's with him to do what the order has been given. And I hope that clarified, kind of, you know, shows the importance of the company officers as well.
It does.
Rick Costello.
So I'm kind of, I didn't know Dwayne was doing this, but I was doing the same thing. I've been thinking of how to make a comparison, and you know, you did it through your work in the school system, and I've been doing it and I came up as an apprentice electrician in the IBEW, and so there was a hierarchy there. Anyhow, I won't go through all that, but I was just trying to find an apples to apples kind of, which I can't. But I'll say this, like Lieutenant Anderson, I really appreciate, it's obvious that, and I think everyone here agree with me, it's obvious that Lieutenant Anderson wants to excel and improve himself personally. Via doing that, he's improving our department. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
No one would.
I didn't think so. Those are good things. I found that to be my experience as an apprentice electrician, turning out as a journeyman wireman, and moving up a little bit to become a foreman and general foreman and those kind of things. And it's the same. That's the same kind of thing we're talking about. But I have one other question that goes along with that stepping up through the program. So if the court decides to do this, so we just have the one rank, basically captain, it'd be 15 of them, right?
Yes.
Do the math right. So then you have firefighter.
Yes.
Then you have above the captains, you'll have the battalion chief, assistant chief. Did I get it?
Fire marshals in there too.
Yeah. Thank you. I forgot about that position. But between the firefighter and the captains, what will that look like? Because the captains, if the court does this, that will basically eliminate a position. In this case,
essentially look exactly like it does now. They will still report to their company officer. They will just have a title of captain instead of lieutenant.
Gotcha. And then how will they progress? It'll just be as a position opens up at the captain's level, then
firefighters will be eligible to make the list and then promote to the position of captain.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's.
So are you worried about that though? I think to maybe what Rick's trying to get at is that it limits promotional opportunities, right? Because right now, through their own merit, they get put on a list through a testing process, right? So from firefighter to lieutenant to captain, or is all kind of on their own merit and their interview process with a third-party company. So now, if we do this, there'll only be really one chance for a firefighter on their own merit and will to go from firefighter to captain. Because everything above that is appointed by the chief, or I count you all. So what's your all's thoughts about that?
If you look at the sheer numbers, we still have 15 company officers, whether 3 of them are captains and 12 of them are lieutenants. So technically, there's still 15 positions to promote to.
Is it the same, like from firefighter to lieutenant, firefighter to captain?
You can't go from firefighter to captain.
Right now, but you will be able to.
You will be.
Would it look just like firefighter to lieutenant?
Yes.
Okay.
Same
so
process.
It's going to look like firefighter to lieutenant.
Basically, the process we hold now, to be promoted from firefighter to lieutenant, we'll just be from firefighter to captain. Same process.
Okay. So that kind of, that's where I was questioning too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still just, yes. I mean, it's not that problem. We're just kind of.
We're eliminating this current structure.
On their own.
If the court decided to move forward, you're eliminating this current captain structure that's below the battalion chief. But currently, that captain serves as a company officer as well, with some other duties and responsibilities as assigned by the chief.
But then we have company officers. We have firefighters that have special duties assigned by the chief. I mean, we have a firefighter taking care of our air packs, all of our SCBAs. I mean, we have,
But along these lines, that's why I mentioned if you have if we change the structure to go where we're going, and you have an individual that meets the criteria, does the training, does the personal development to be able to ride up, that 75 cent reflects it. But I think if they're going to hang around in that position and benefit our agency, that there should in the future a consideration for an additional adjustment for years' experience in that leadership position. That's my 2 cents. I can't speak on behalf of the court. That's just my 2 cents.
And that would be a part of your budget meetings?
Budget meetings, consideration, and conversations in the future. But right now, as it stands, how many individuals, if the court made this transition, you've got the 3 current captains that are going to stay the same.
Yes.
But how many individuals that are currently lieutenants? 2.
Right.
But in the next few months, you're going to have some additional individuals that would meet that time.
If we voted today, we actually have 3 lieutenants that would be grandfathered in, if you will. They were promoted before 2020.
Okay, so you'd have 3 that would grandfathered in to be able to ride up if they so choose.
If they so choose. And again, they don't have to take on that responsibility. That's up to them. There will be 4 more over the course of the next 12 months that would meet the minimum qualifications, having 2 years' experience, having the 48 hours of ride time, and then completing the Scott County Fire Department Officer Development class. And then the following year, we would have 3 more that would be eligible, and the year after that, there would be 2. So it's not, all of them would not be eligible right off the bat.
Other questions or comments?
I do. I think I got more comments than I do questions. This is when our job gets difficult, having to talk about things that affect not only our employees but community, families, and everything. So, but the one thing I do want to point out is, Ryan and I have talked about it, and talk about changing the rules during the game and everything, but, Toyota doesn't call their team leader or their line worker and say, hey, we're getting ready to do this. How do you all think about this? They don't ask the whole plant, what do you think about this? Houchins Insurance Group doesn't call us in Lexington and say, we're implementing a change. What are your thoughts? We want your feedback because we may not do it. And so sometimes employees don't get input on change that we see for the greater organization. The other thing is, too, when we talk about this, I know we're still talking about folks, employees, that affects their lives and everything, but at the end of the day, our service up here is to Scott County residents in the whole. Not just 10 people, 5 people, 20 people. It's to Scott County residents in the whole. And when we talk about the list, the thing about the list is, in my mind, I don't care who's on the list. I want the best in every seat, the best in every employee position in Scott County, because the taxpayers deserve that. And that's one reason why we've gone through the years, and Jeff has done a great job, and Kara, on looking at salaries and how we compare and how we can be competitive and bring the best to Scott County. And so you've got EMS, saying we've done interviews and they just don't meet our standards. So I just want us to keep all that in mind, where we take some of the emotional aspect out of it and remember the critical of why we're actually making the decisions on behalf of Scott County residents. That's my comment.
Any other questions? Rob Jones.
So I look at this like my business, like Rick. So I can only have so many leaders as electricians, and then everybody else falls down under those. If those guys never leave, these guys don't have an opportunity to come up. So then they leave. So I'm always stuck with younger guys, older guys trying to teach. And I wonder if that's going to be a problem there, because there's not going to be any incentive. Because if captains get up here and they like what they're doing, they're going to stay. Are we going to lose firefighters because there's no advancement at all? They can't even, they're going to get their pay raise every year, but they may be there 10 years and still be a firefighter and never get promoted. That's the only concern I have.
I understand. It's just, we have 2 battalion chiefs that are retiring currently. I mean, there will be room for movement.
I mean, because on the most part, you guys are fairly young in the department now.
I appreciate that, Rob.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't tell if we look
Except
at
for
it.
the one old guy you got. But yeah, I mean, the department is fairly young, right?
It is.
So that's my concern, is there's not going to be no chance of, advancing up.
But along those lines, as we speak, you have 15 company officers. 3 of them are captains, 12 of them are lieutenants.
Yeah.
If we transition, you're going to have 15 company officers. You're going to have 15 captains.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Well, that was. Go ahead, Chief.
Go ahead, Chief.
No, I'm sorry. I guess that was the point I was going to make too, is we're not getting rid of or any advancement opportunities. We're still going to have 15 company officers that firefighters can advance into. What we're looking at is retitling and reorganization, restructure, ever how you want to term it, but to where we have company officers that are all the same rank. The department at our size, if you look at other, and it doesn't mean, I'm not saying we have to do exactly what other departments are doing, but look at the standard of departments our size. If the company officers at those organizations are all at the same rank, there's not another company officer rank on top of another. I mean, so this is something we really dove into, and like David said, we pulled the captains in, we pulled the lieutenants in, we've had discussions with this in our chiefs meetings. A lot of thought has been put into this, and a lot of research has been done. And what we're looking at is because our department's going to continue to grow, the community's growing, is what can we do as an organization that will continue with that growth and that will benefit our department in the future as well. And that's kind of the, but, this whole recommendation to you all is something that we have put a lot of time and a lot of, effort in trying to look at all the pros and cons of it.
So on that comment, so what I'm hearing is there's not going to be any less opportunity for promotion. It's actually going to be the same.
I'll have to let them answer that question.
Right. That kind of like what I just heard.
15 company officers.
Hold on. Let me, from the outside in. There won't be any less opportunity for promotion, but going from firefighter to captain, instead of going from firefighter to lieutenant to captain, which would be larger pay increases, you're going from firefighter to captain, which is not going to be as large of a pay increase as it would be going through the three. And I think that's where where the rub is coming from. But again, I go back to, there are no guarantees in any of this. There are no guarantees. We could hit a recession and go, hey, we got to cut employees. Thank God we didn't have to do that last time, because everything has been managed so well by the fiscal court.
So the proposal, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, there's just no guarantees in any of this when it comes to jobs, employment. You all can't provide any guarantee on promotion for anyone, because you never know who's going to leave. My thought on the whole thing, Rob, with if you have someone above that level, if they never leave, well, I'm thinking it's a pretty good place to work. And it's okay for people who want to better themselves to go elsewhere. No different than, I'm not sure, before you started your own positions, did you work for multiple electrical companies? And you probably did that because you wanted to find something better, something different, where you had better opportunity. And then finally you started your own companies because you said, I want to do my own thing. I want to be the guy, instead of having someone over me.
Well, I was lucky in that.
Except for your spouse. I know that you're in
I
charge.
was lucky in that because I worked for one boss, and he always encouraged me, start your own business, start your own business. And I hope that's what we do. Promote. Always encourage them.
So just to read, here's the proposal from Chief Ward and the fire department. Elimination of the second level officer position, no reduction in pay for the 3 current second level officers, with the exception that they will continue to provide backup support when the battalion chief is absent. 3, retitle the first level company officer position to captain, which was formerly lieutenant, and duties will be consistent with the lieutenant position. Provide a 75-cent per hour adjustment to the market median to the current first level company officer position for those that choose to provide backup support to the battalion chief when absent and meet the established criteria to serve as BC. That's it.
When you're talking about this hourly pay adjustment, and it's when they're riding up, does that go away?
That's 75%. If they meet the criteria, then they get that 75%, that 75-cent adjustment.
Going from lieutenant to captain, is there any adjustment? Is that the 75 cents, or just when they ride up?
Just for those that qualify to be able to ride up. Okay. So there's adjustment from firefighter to lieutenant now, and that adjustment's going to stay the same for the current lieutenants. The 3 captains, their rate will stay the same. But as we move forward, if an individual wants to meet the criteria and does what's required to be able to ride up as BC as a captain in the new structure, then they will realize a 75-cent adjustment.
I got to go, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Do we have a policy?
I just read it.
I mean,
The proposal. I read the proposal.
send it to me?
Yes.
I'd make a second.
There's a second. Any other questions or comments?
Motion to what? To approve?
To approve.
Judge, I'm going to say I'm not in support of this, and it's purely budgetary, and I think that we should have done this in the spring and got this in the budget.
Any other comments or
And
questions?
and I think that it's a dangerous precedent set by the court dealing with this as soon as the budget is passed.
Yes, sir. Respect that greatly and understand. Roll call's been requested. Roll call, Ms. Hamilton.
Mr. Hostetler,
I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Jones,
I'm going to vote because of the recommendation of our fire department. They lead this group. They know what they're doing. I don't. So I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Wallace.
No.
Mr. Corman,
Yes.
Mr. Ellison,
Yes.
Mr. Pratt.
Yeah, I'm going to be with what Rob said. I'm going to be a yes as well, just because I have faith in you all. I do feel like we're changing the game a little bit, and it gives me some concern with what Chad said. I don't want to set that precedent long-term, but I do feel like this is what's best for the department, which ultimately was what we're charged with, so I'm a yes.
Mr. Livingston.
This might shock you all. I agree with Chad on his item, but that's not why I'm voting no. I'm voting no because I think we need to dive deeper into the pay differential before making the decision.
You don't have to ask me. My vote's yes, because I support our leadership at our fire department, and I believe in their guidance, and I believe that the negative impact on the budget is very minimal. So that's my vote.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
I think that I agree with you on the negative impact. I agree with the leadership of the fire department. What I think is it is such a minimal impact on it that we needed to dive deeper into the pay differential and how it affects going forward before making the decision.
And we can always.
And I know that we'll do that. Jeff is
We can
committed to do
always.
that. It's just, I would like to have had that kind of information beforehand.
And you heard me very clearly say that my support was it with the 75 cents in place, but I believe if we have individuals that meet the criteria that stay there over X years, whether that's 4 years in that position, 5 years in the position, I don't know. And that's why we need to look at it. I think there should be another level of adjustment to address that, because we're getting their leadership, their experience, and such. So what was the count, Ms. Hamilton? 5-3. 5-3. The motion to approve the restructuring carries with the 75-cent adjustment. And I will ask Jeff, as we move forward, to look at a little bit deeper dive on the financial side. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Next item, fire department training travel.
So we have Lieutenant Mark Bennett is wanting to attend a hazmat monitoring class. It's going to be August 10th through the 16th. Anniston, Alabama. All expenses for the trip will be covered through FEMA, other than wages. We're going to be allowing him off and paying wages for him to attend.
Motion. Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for your efforts
Thank you
and
all.
appreciate your leadership. Mr. Anderson, let me tell you this. I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you bring to the agency and your leadership, and I appreciate you coming here and advocating for your point of view. And please know that I don't discard that, and it's important to me. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Appreciative of the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yes, sir. Next item, Sheriff's Office contract, Otis Elevator. We answered questions related to that. We have emailed back and forth. The warranty does not start until this 12-month period is through. Is there And I would ask you to make a motion stating that the final document passes CAM's review.
Well,
Question?
I've got a question. I'll make that motion, Judge. I don't have a question. I want to say thanks, Cam, for the work on that. I think the fact that it's a year away when it starts.
Yes, sir.
August of next year. And I think that was in the original document. I didn't catch it, but.
Well, yeah, it was, but that's fair.
And I missed it, and because of the, that I missed it because of the comments I made in our last meeting. So I appreciate your work on
Still a
that.
valid question, though, that we needed to follow up on, though.
Sure. And so they're warranting, which is typical. They're warranting their elevator for the next year. And so I'll make that motion, Judge.
Motion. Second from Kelly. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, Detention Center Software Service Agreement from Cadmus. This was very similar to the Otis elevator situation. We had to get questions about the data. I think all those questions have been answered. I think this is a fabulous opportunity for our jail staff to have a tool that helps document needed actions, and I think it should be approved. Motion from Rob Jones, second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to say thanks, Darren, for, I know he's not in here, but for using the commissary money for this and not county dollars. And
Absolutely.
Amazing, so.
Yes.
And one more kudos for the backgrounding on that as well. Cam, thank you for that. I mean, because I think David was the one that brought it up first about protecting or the jail having being able to control the information that long term, and so that's a good thing.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 2513, proposed access point. I will ask Cam to read the resolution. I will give you, as we shared by email, the location of the access point is on the bypass, but it's really a secondary access point. It's right in, right out, right off of 460 right there on the bypass. The main entrance point is directly across from Elkhorn Crossing School on US 460. As always, any of these access points require the city and the county to approve a resolution supporting that access point.
That's
Will you
correct.
read that?
And the city did one already in April.
All right.
Are we just approving just the one on the bypass?
That's the only one.
Yes. Not the one on
That's the
460?
only one we are considering, the one on the bypass.
Right in, right out?
Right out, right in, right out.
All right, Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution 2513, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court expressing support for a new right-in and right-out access point on McClellan Circle. Whereas the City of Georgetown Ordinance Number 8611 has amended established access points for the southern half of McClellan Circle, formerly known as the Georgetown Bypass, proceeding south and west from Paris Pike. And whereas Section 3 of Ordinance Number 8611 as amended states that all future access points, in addition to those set out in Section 1 of the ordinance, may only be determined by application to and approval by the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission, and final approval by the Georgetown City Council and the Scott County Fiscal Court. And whereas on November 14th, 2024, the Planning Commission approved the preliminary development plan for the Marketplace at Frankfort Pike Development, PDP 2024-46, which recommended preliminary approval for a new right-in, right-out access point on McClellan Circle as described in Exhibit A. And whereas the Planning Commission has referred this recommendation to the Scott County Fiscal Court for consideration pursuant to Ordinance Number 8611 as amended, now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court that the Scott County Fiscal Court hereby supports the proposed access point on McClellan Circle for the Marketplace Frankfort Pike Development, PDP 2024-46, as described in Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated by reference herein, which is subject to approval by the Kentucky Department of Transportation. Final approval of the proposed access point shall be contingent upon final development plan approval by the Georgetown Scott County Planning Commission, as well as approval by the Georgetown City Council as required by Ordinance Number 8611 as amended. The City Council has approved the proposed access point in the City of Georgetown, Kentucky Resolution 2025-09. At such time, the Georgetown City Council may further amend its access point ordinance to add the above described access point to the list of authorized access points located on the southern half of McClellan Circle. That's 8th day of August 2025.
Questions or comments? Would there be any public comment? Would there be a motion to approve? Motion from Kelly Corman, second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
I do have a question. Do we know this main entrance, what traffic, are they putting a stop, do we know? I know we're not voting on that, but on the 460, are they doing a stoplight, do we know?
Oh, I'm sure that it will require.
I don't see anything on there.
Ryan, I should not answer without knowing for fact. But I would be, like, with the volume of most likely of what's going to go through there, I would be shocked if there wasn't going to be a signalization. But I will get that information confirmed. I do know that what we just approved was right in, right out only.
I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure they're doing something on 460 as well.
Yeah. So I'll get that and I'll share that. The next item is Ordinance 2502, first reading, street legal special purpose vehicles. Before Cam reads the ordinance, I would be more than willing to consider any public comment. Then we'll read the ordinance and then take comment from the court. Anyone that'd like to make public comment can just come to the lectern there and share your name, and if you can try to keep it below 4 minutes, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation or anything. Good afternoon. My name's Todd Grizzle, and I'm
Todd Grizzle.
Grizzle.
Okay.
And I'm speaking on the behalf of the special purpose vehicles. I think there is opportunity in Georgetown for this kind of thing. There's revenue for one thing, for licensing, taxes, and inspections and stuff like that. And then there's another chance for regulation. Now you have control over these vehicles. And there's also maybe even a chance for recreation in the future. I have one. I don't think it's going to make that big of an impact on the community itself. Not everybody's going to have one of these running up and down the roads. I think there ought to be regulations on maybe the times and hours that they can be on the road, and I know there is. And I've got some pictures here. Like I said, I don't have a PowerPoint, but here's some things that are allowed on the roads today, and there's a thing called a slingshot, and they're like a four-wheel motorcycle. They don't have any kind of road cage protection or anything on them. Then you have your motorcycles nowadays. You don't even have to have a helmet. I don't know why that law ever passed. But it doesn't have a road cage or anything on that. And then the least, you've got mopeds that are out on the road. And so basically that's my short, that's all I really have.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and share your support for a potential ordinance to allow the operation of street legal special purpose vehicles on Scott County roads. Questions or comments?
Thanks for coming, Mr. Grizzle. He made a comment there, and I just want to clarify and make sure. So what we're doing here today, if this was to be passed, it will only affect county roads. The city of Georgetown would have to do something for the city limits of Georgetown. I just want to make sure you understood that.
And let me clarify. The city of Georgetown voted to not approve or not pursue an ordinance to allow street legal special purpose vehicles to operate within the city limits. I have contacted the mayor of Stamping Ground, and I have contacted the mayor of Sadieville. They are still gathering information and have not made a decision. So this body can only make a decision to allow street legal special purpose vehicles to operate on county roads or roads in the county that are not restricted highways. That's the way it should be worded.
Yeah, right. You're getting good with that street legal,
I know.
special purpose vehicles.
Anything else, Mr. Grizzle?
No, sir.
Or anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name's Shannon Hayes. I live in Stamping Ground. Like Mr. Grizzle, I'm for the ordinance change. I can get my phone to work here. I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I've seen on social media about the negative impact that it would have. A lot of people saying they're dangerous, but you know, like a vehicle, a car, they have all the lights, mirrors, they would be required to have everything, turn signals, horn, all of that stuff. So I don't think that's really a valid concern. Wrong phone. Another thing, you have to have insurance on it, so there shouldn't be any property damage from people if there is an accident. Another concern I saw was people saying they would slow traffic, and I can't see that being a problem either. Most of these vehicles, mine will do 80 miles an hour if I wanted to, so definitely not going to slow any traffic. Mainly why I want to be able to do it is, you know, take my kids to Dairy Queen or go down to the dollar store, hop in just for a fun thing. It's not like it's going to be an everyday thing. And also, like he said, the benefit to the economy side is a lot of taxes. Mine was almost $40,000, so that's going to be a lot of tax money every year that I have to pay for licensing the vehicle. It's just going to be just like a car if I'm understanding right. But I guess that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. And David, you...
Yeah, I was just going to say that when you made the comment about Dairy Queen and stuff like that, you know, if the city doesn't take it up.
But the city has voted no. It's not that they didn't take it up. They voted not to approve it.
Right, okay. So, I mean, you know, that is completely off the table. And the other thing is, too, if Sadie'ville Stamping Ground didn't take it up and vote yes, if you're trying to get from one edge of town to the other, say you want to drive up to Great Crossing, but you live on the other side of Stamping Ground, well, you're not going to be able to pass through Stamping Ground legally to get to Great Crossing schools for a football game or something. I mean, it just...
You could just be a long way around.
Well, yeah. It'd be a long
You're
way.
limited to 20 miles, Rob.
Yeah, you're limited to 20
Well,
miles.
I mean,
You go about 20
I
miles.
guarantee you I can make it.
Any
20
other
calls.
questions or
I'm
comments?
just saying it's a real convoluted situation for a county like ours compared to a Laurel or a Harlan or a Knott or a Knox that are.
I think the county, the cities may change their tune once they see that there's not issues in the county. You know, there's not a lot of accidents.
Or the county, or if it passed and the county had issues, it may get revoked.
Exactly.
There's that too.
And Rick Hostetler.
What is it? Ifs and ands.
Ifs and buts for candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
So, for me, it's kind of simpler than trying to figure out all this could happen or that could happen. To address Sadie'ville and Stamping Ground issue, I'm sure that if the county were to do something like this, it would have a major impact on their decision making too. And I don't know what that would be for sure. I can't speak for them, but I have had conversations with them and conversations from people in the Sadie'ville area that are in favor of this, who are also my constituents. That's why I've heard from them. I will comment. Let me just continue on. So I've talked to two folks. One of them's Mr. Grizzle. I've talked to him. I think you've already registered your vehicle here at the courthouse, correct? And so it's been through the inspection. I talked to another gentleman who was one of the first folks. I think, according to Clerk Johnson, I talked to her as well. There's been about 6 vehicles registered already that have been inspected at the Sheriff's Department. they're licensed drivers and they're insured vehicles. People are talking about how do you enforce it? You just enforce the laws. The laws that apply to my pickup truck or my van or your car or whatever are going to apply to this, is what I understand from the KRS. As long as they meet all the requirements, pass the inspection, otherwise they're illegally used. Like many of the vehicles the pictures that Mr. Grizzle showed us, people are probably in most situations are not supposed to be, well, not all those vehicles. The motorcycles, I don't know why anybody want to ride one without a helmet, but that's their choice, and that's where I'm coming down at. What this does, if the court would take it up and vote in favor of it, it gives our citizens a choice to drive one of those vehicles out in the county. In this case, it could change, Sadierville could join in or not. Same thing with Stamping Ground. I don't know. I do know folks in the northern part of the county that got multiple farms, and I told them not to tell me this, but they did. They're already riding between them. That's illegal.
A lot of them may have a farm placard.
But they don't have.
They don't.
But so I'm just saying that's.
But I'm going to ask Sheriff Nettles and Cam to clarify. Any vehicle used for agricultural purposes, I believe, to be exempt.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And
the statute's written.
So I just want to clarify that.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So those four-wheelers are or a guy could say I'm riding my moped, but I'm going between the farms. Can't do anything about it.
I didn't make that statute.
I'm with you. So that's what
I can find.
So I think this is an improvement to go this route and get inspected vehicles and so forth. So anyhow, so I talked to one other gentleman who has licensed this here in the county, and he actually lives in Scott County as his main residence, but he's also he has a residence and grandkids in Indiana. And in our conversation, which it was late last night, I didn't know this, but Indiana has a very similar thing going on, and he actually he's licensed in Indiana as well, and he's licensed here now. He'd like to be able to ride in his home county. And he lives in the city limits, but he's well versed in it. And he says, I realize, Rick, I have friends out in the county. If this thing goes, I'll be taking mine and I can ride around out in the county and be legal. And so he's wanting that choice, and that's what I'm talking about. The individual have the choice, and they'll be under the same laws that the rest of us are.
25 miles or less. 25 miles or less. So just as a point of information, the statute says street legal special purpose vehicle does not include a low-speed vehicle as defined in KRS 186.010 or a vehicle primarily used for farm or agricultural activities. And those, if you go to that statute, that the low-speed vehicles they have to be designed at speeds not to exceed 25 miles per hour. So it's not, like Joe Pat said, the low-speed farm vehicles are exempt from this.
Sure.
So I can have
like a four-wheeler that can fly.
But I could have a farm golf cart with a sprayer on it, and it would be exempt.
Oh man!
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts.
I'm just saying that's where it's going.
So do we need a motion?
So just my 2 cents.
No, we got to read the ordinance first.
I thought so. My bad.
So just my 2 cents. So from Stamping Ground, I'm pretty confident Stamping Ground will pass it if we pass it. I'm pretty confident in that. And a lot of my constituents down there, they do drive them, you know. They come to the dollar store needs all the time. It's something they do. It's not a farm vehicle. It's just something they do. They take the kids out, get out and enjoy a day. But it's not I don't think we're going to be overwhelmed with all these vehicles on the road. And a lot of these vehicles are a lot safer than some of the cars and trucks I see on the road. So just my 2 cents.
I'll make a quick comment to the safety since we're just talking about that, because I've got one, a side-by-side. It's, it'll go 55 miles an hour, but it's probably 10 years old. But I promise you, I don't want to get it out on the road and drive it because it does not handle like a car. And I know probably the newer ones, the nicer ones, great power steering. but I don't have the ability to maneuver that thing and make quick turns or whatever if I'm going that fast. So I've got a real concern about, and mine's not street legal currently. I'd have to fit it up and put whatever I need to on it, which I don't plan on. But I still feel like there'd be a lot of people that have these 10 or 15-year-old SUVs that could fit them up, but I still don't feel like they're very safe. And that's just my 2 cents.
Any other comment or question? I'm going to play an audio, and this is Senator Brandon Storm. Senator Storm was the sponsor. And sometimes things get passed in Frankfurt, and you want to look at, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? Why did they pass that? And I want to share that. I'm not going to debate that the safety of these vehicles could be safer than a motorcycle or the Can-Am or whatever. I'm not going to debate that. Why anybody would get on a motorcycle and go 75 miles an hour down the road without a helmet, I do not know. But I do want to share this for your consideration. So I'm going to play this, and then and I'm not going to play a long excerpt of it, but I just want about why they passed this.
Commonwealth. So I've always been someone who's striving to make sure that we're putting forward good, safe legislation that's also going to bring back economic booms for Kentucky, if at all possible. So with those 2 assignments, I've been able to meet with many stakeholders across the Commonwealth and across the nation regarding how can we bring industry, how can we bring tourism and things of that nature to the Commonwealth. And so that's kind of the background that I would approach Senate Bill 63 with is how do we buttress the beautiful scenery we have in Kentucky, the beautiful abandoned mines, the areas that were once coal mine towns that have mom and pop grocery stores still and gas stations there that are barely making ends meet, that how can we bring back industry or people to visit those areas? How do we bring back people stopping in to shop at those local mom and pop places and getting gas? And so there was a pilot program several years ago in Eastern Kentucky, and it was actually, have a copy of it here. I think it was in 24 Senate Bill 125, and that was done by Representative Fugate and Senator Wheeler. And so they kind of put together some a pilot project to help some trail systems throughout Eastern Kentucky be able to thrive. And so that was kind of the framework we already had established. And interestingly enough, I came to learn that Kentucky has an interesting KRS. It's KRS 186.140, and it is basically reciprocity to non-residents. So think about this. If you have a vehicle licensed in Tennessee, or you have one of these side-by-sides licensed in Tennessee, with that KRS, you're permitted by our laws to operate in Kentucky. If you have one of these street legal special purpose vehicles registered in West Virginia, again, you can come into Kentucky and you can operate in Kentucky pursuant to KRS 186.140, which is a reciprocity statute. It's somewhat akin to if you live in Ohio and you want to go to Tennessee for the weekend, or vice versa. If you live in Kentucky, you want to go to the Reds game in Cincinnati, because your vehicle is licensed in Kentucky, you can still operate on roadways in Ohio. You don't have to be registered in Ohio. And so that reciprocity issue started to really present itself when in our area of the state, southeastern Kentucky, south central Kentucky, there were numerous, I don't know if Judge White's on here from Whitley County, but, numerous individuals that would have side-by-sides licensed from Tennessee, and they'd come up into Kentucky and they'd ride the trail systems and things of that nature. They were able to get on the roadways, and legally with this KRS, it prohibited law enforcement from really being able to do a whole lot. But Kentucky residents didn't have the same thing. And so for me, it was just coming at it from the perspective of, I want the people of Kentucky to be treated fairly and equally, and as well as everyone else. And so why should an individual who lives in Kentucky be able to mail a title registration application, I should say, to Montana and pay a filing fee in Montana, and all of a sudden receive in the mail a license plate to put on their side-by-side? And so West Virginia's already passed this law. Tennessee's passed this law, if I'm not mistaken. So there's multiple states that have already passed a law similar to this. And so what we wanted to make sure is we try to make it as safe as possible. And I was going to end with this, but I think Rich, when I met with him last time I saw him in Lexington, something that stood out to me was the fact that an opt-in scenario. And so I want to give credit where credit's due. I hope everyone knows that's how the kind of person I am. When it came out of the Senate, it was a mandatory. When it went to the House, I met with Chair Petrie, and he and I had good conversations. And rather than just saying, hey, this should be mandatory across everyone in the Commonwealth, and I had an opt-out provision. He said, why don't we flip it and let's opt in? And so, again, I give credit where credit's due. That was his idea. And so I said, that's fine with me. So, again, we're not mandating that this take place everywhere. If your community doesn't want to opt in, they're not mandated to opt in, obviously. And so that's something that I think is really important about this bill. The next thing I just wanted to point out is, my intent was try to do what we can to boost the economies in rural parts of Kentucky. And I want to help struggling communities, stay afloat. I've seen a lot of businesses you can drive through.
I'm going to stop there. As I said, I wanted to share the why. And you heard about the reciprocity. And then you heard his desire to help struggling rural economies with tourism by allowing the side-by-sides to operate on roads in communities that have these trails, and allows them to go to gas stations, restaurants, while they're boosting the economy. And that's the why. And does that apply here is my question to the court. The court has to make a decision. Does that apply? So, Cam, will you read the ordinance?
Yes,
and
sir.
then we'll take a roll call vote.
All right, Scott County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2502, an ordinance relating to street legal special purpose vehicles. Whereas KRS 186.077 and KRS 186.078, which became effective on June 27th, 2025, allow for the operation of street legal special purpose vehicles on certain highways within the Commonwealth of Kentucky, if allowed by ordinance of the local government within whose jurisdictional boundaries the highway is located. And whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court has determined that it is appropriate to allow the operation of street legal special purpose vehicles on specified highways within the jurisdictional boundaries of Scott County in accordance with the act of this ordinance. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the Fiscal Court of Scott County, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, definitions. The definitions set forth in KRS 186.077 and as may be amended in the future by the Kentucky General Assembly are adopted and incorporated by reference as if set forth fully herein. Highway is defined in KRS 186.010 and means every way or place of whatever nature when any part of it is open to the use of the public as a matter of right, license, or privilege for the purpose of vehicular traffic. Section 2, designated highways. Street legal special purpose vehicles shall be allowed to the extent permitted by the Act on all publicly maintained highways that are located within the jurisdictional limits of Scott County, except as described herein. Section 3, exceptions. Street legal special purpose vehicles shall not be allowed to operate, A, on any highway or portion thereof located within the jurisdictional limits of the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, unless otherwise allowed by ordinance of the City of Georgetown. B, on any highway or portion thereof located within the jurisdictional limits of the City of Stamping Ground, Kentucky, unless otherwise allowed by ordinance of the City of Stamping Ground. C, on any highway or portion thereof located within the jurisdictional limits of the City of Sadieville, Kentucky, unless otherwise allowed by ordinance of the City of Sadieville. D, on any highway or portion thereof that is a controlled access system, including but not limited to an interstate or parkway. Or E, on any highway or portion thereof where the United States Department of Agriculture, prohibits special purpose vehicles. Section 4, prohibitions. Street legal special purpose vehicles are prohibited from traveling a distance of greater than 20 miles on a highway displaying centerline pavement markings. B, mini trucks shall not be operated as street legal special purpose vehicles on a highway that has been constructed pursuant to a federal highway program. Section 5, operators of street legal special purpose vehicles shall comply with all provisions of KRS 186.077 and all other applicable provisions of Kentucky Revised Statutes. Section 6, street legal special purpose vehicles may only be operated on a highway by individuals possessing a valid operator's license. Section 7, effective date, this ordinance shall be effective on passage and publication. And today is a first reading, which was August 8th, 2025.
And then if someone makes a motion to call the question and it passes, then we have to have a second reading and then go from there. Any other questions or comments?
So on the first reading, if it doesn't pass, we don't, it's just dies.
It's dead. Now, it can be brought back in the future if someone wants to bring it back, amend it, make suggested changes. Always have the ability to bring it back in the future if that happens.
That section 4, section A of section 4.
That's from
20
the
miles.
statute.
Is that one? I'm assuming that's a
Doesn't
round
say.
trip.
That's a good question. Somebody brought that up in the Zoom thing that Ryan and I were on. That's exactly what the
It sounds
statute
like that would be
says.
20 miles out and 20 miles back, but that's just a guess.
And in that webinar, the reason they landed on 20 miles was about the trails, the distance to wherever they did that pilot, the distance would cover another set of trails. That's what was said in that webinar.
Right.
Do you think, I guess this is for Cam, like we listed some of the things in here that it requires, but not all. Like there's a bunch of stuff in the statute that says you must have seatbelt and blah, blah. Like, do you think that needs to be in here?
Well,
to make it,
I don't think so. I mean, you could, but I just put in, when drafting it, put that they had to comply with all provisions of KRS.
Of the Act.
186.077.
so it's really up to them to know that.
Yeah.
And that requires, the Act requires them to be inspected by the sheriff's office or a designee, and that designee is per the purview of the sheriff's office.
And I think just the legal reason for writing it that way is because, in theory, they could change the act. It could change, so if that changes, you just say you follow the act, right?
No, that's true. I'm with you. I'll make a good point.
I'm just saying, couldn't y'all see Joe Pack going down through there, getting that wind through his hair?
Just
going up to the filling station, get a bottle of pop?
So with that said, I go back and ask the court, shared the purpose from the sponsor, what the purpose was for their passing. But now that decision has been given to the fiscal court to make a decision. Any other questions or comments?
I'll make that motion, Judge.
So there's a motion
Second.
to approve
Second.
and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
No.
Mr. Corman?
No.
Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
To move on to a second reading, yes.
Mr. Covington?
No.
4-3. And Mr. Ellison will have to leave.
Yeah, I've got Ellis marked down.
So we have a second reading now.
Yes, so that just advances it to the second reading on the 28th.
All right. With that said, then, we will move on to
So that advances till when? I'm sorry.
the 28th.
Next meeting.
Thank you, Cam. Thank
So
you, Judge.
back to matters of business related to providing services to our community. Michelle, real quick, can you give us, Zach, can you pull up that PowerPoint I sent? And I'll take them through it, Michelle. This has been shared, and we talked about it previously about the 0.0052, correct? As the proposed rate, that would be a decrease in the rate from what we currently have. And as I've shared, I'm going to keep beating this drum. We exist to provide services. And those services will never cost less than they do today. So it's very important that we look at revenue. But we always want to be good stewards of tax dollars, and we always want to negate the impact on our community. And since 2020, when it was 0.062, in 21 it was 0.062, in 22 it went to 0.0600. Last year, not the year before, it was 0.0570, and then last year 0.0052. We are proposing to go down to 0.0528. And the reason for this is that we have talked about before is your assessments go up, and we have to make adjustments to stay below that 4% threshold in revenue. And next slide. If you look around the state, Carroll, Cumberland, Hancock down in Western Kentucky, Pulaski and Laurel have lower rates than we do, but there we would be right there where we're at, number 6. Now I will add to it, Pulaski and Laurel have fire taxing districts that require additional funds from their people and their citizens to run their fire services. We include those in our general.
And Carroll has EMS.
And Carroll has EMS. So I would attend to you that we're probably, if you look at the total dollars required, we're going to be lower than Pulaski and Laurel. But there's 120 counties, and look where we're at. So I'll go to this next one. Look around us. Woodford, Fayette, Bourbon, Harrison, Owen, Franklin, and where we're at. Next slide, please. And then just looking at communities, I call just like benchmark communities. Pulaski and Laurel, yes, they're below us. But look at Madison at 6.8, Oldham 8.7, Bullitt 9.1, Boone 9.2, Shelby 9.6, Jessamine 11, Franklin 18.4. We have worked very hard, and we have been very in tune at the concerns of our community to keep this rate as low as we can, but still provide services. And I'll go back to, this is why it is so important. OLT and net profits, like 55% or more of our revenue. It is so important that we look at adding new jobs that provide this revenue without raising taxes. Nobody on this court wants to raise taxes, but it's important. I want to show, we are very, very low in what we levy for property. And I will go back to this, and I'll share some more. On a $100,000 home, this is excluding city taxes, but if you live in Scott County in 2024, you had a $100,000 home, your tax bill would be $899.30. Of that, $629 of it goes to schools. That's 70%. $109 goes to the state. $55 comes to the county of that. We provide a great service and a great level of support. I think the return on investment for our community is awesome. So I want people to understand, we will vote on this at the next meeting, and there will be a notice in the paper, correct? Not if we plan to lower or not go above that threshold, and I have no intent of doing that. Does anybody have any other comments? I appreciate Michelle.
I think it's awesome we can continue to do it.
I do too. But we have to be very, very conscious about, I think, trying to promote new jobs in a balanced manner. I think it's very important. Chili cook-off, I don't think Mr. Calvert's here. I don't see him, but I did promise that we would tell him and promote September 4th, Steve Woodrum State Farm Fireman's Chili Cook-Off. and that benefits Toys for Tots. We've got those up here. Always a fun time. Appreciate the fire department's leadership there and activities there, and fabulous event. At this time, I'd like to ask someone to consider making a motion to go into executive session under KRS 618101C for potential litigation. Motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll go into executive session. real quick.
Make a motion to enter back into it.
We have a motion to come out of executive session. We have a second from Kelly Corman. All those in favor of coming out of executive session, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are out of executive session. Action coming from executive session. First matter.
I would ask someone to make a motion to authorize seeking whatever legal remedies are available for a continuing code enforcement violation at 108 Pemberley Cove Lane.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And then one other item.
I'd ask somebody to make a motion to authorize Judge Covington and myself to communicate with Attorney Philip George in Reimer Law and authorize us to make decisions with respect to a judicial sale regarding 217 Gemini Trail, which is scheduled for next Tuesday, August 12th.
Motion. Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I will. I'm going to oppose. I just don't feel comfortable with it, so I'm going to oppose.
Okay. And so we have one opposed. Motion passes. And then do want to recognize it's David Livingston's birthday. With that said, do you want to make a motion to adjourn? And then Cam Culbertson has one thing as well.
Poor Beckham's been sitting here for a long time, and there's nobody else left in the room except for JR and Sheriff Nettles. But anyway, Beckham Singer's been here today. He's been our summer intern. He's really smart. He's going to come back in a couple of years and smoke all of us at legal stuff. But he's graduated from Georgetown College. He's getting ready to start law school at Vanderbilt University. But he's just done an excellent job for us. He's helped us review trials. He's written some stuff that we've put on our website that's going to be useful to the public, and just really appreciate having him and wanted to recognize him.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
No.